Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host of the Leaders Without podcast. Today, I have another very special guest, my new good friend, Camille, in Italian, Camille. Amazing lady. We connected on one of my favorite communities in this world, the Serving Circle by our good friend, Tyson. And while I was attending one of the weekly calls with Tyson, he talked about an upcoming mastermind presented by someone very special, Camille Miller. I attended that, absolutely blown away. I took so many notes that, I have an entire page filled with notes. Amazing, love that. Took a lot of screenshots. I apologize if the sound of me taking screenshots, cause you to unfocus or whatever. But that was me. So apologies for that. But Camille is amazing speaker. She's a founder and chief visionary, the Natural Life Business Partnership, engineer for alternative businesses. And she has one of the most beautiful taglines, which is something that's very similar to mine, which is purpose drives profits. And this is what this is all about, talking about impactful entrepreneurs, businesses with a heart, and leaders with a heart. And I can tell you that Camille is a true, authentic, and genuine leader with a heart. So Camille, my friend, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it.
Pleasure's all mine. So before we start, tell us, as I told you before going live, I'd like to get to know the person I'm talking as, to have a heart-to-heart conversation. So tell us, Camille, what makes you happy?
Oh my gosh. I didn't see that one coming. What makes me happy? So many things make me happy, right? Oh my gosh, everything in life makes me happy. I'm just I'm a very happy, positive person. So, family and connection and just being in that moment is really what makes me happy. Following my own heart, my own passions, watching my kids be creatives. Mm-hmm. That's what makes me happy. I kind of walk to a different drum beat.
Absolutely.
I always have.
Now, what makes you smile?
Oh, you're making me smile right now.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Same things, right? When you're happy and in your purpose, in your place, makes me smile. When I make a difference, makes me smile, right? When I can touch someone's heart in a way, makes me smile. But I also smile when I'm alone. I like a lot of alone time. I'm not a loner, but I love alone time, if that makes sense. I love both. Like I'd rather have I'm an introvert. People don't realize that. I am a hardcore introvert. I need time just for myself and space. And I like smaller crowds and big parties. I like things that are intimate and deep.
All right, that's amazing. So let's take this to a little bit to a high level. Tell us, Camille, what makes you come alive?
I feel like these are all the same questions. Happy, smile, alive. It's all the same thing, right? Different degrees. Just being in my lane of joy, helping others. My whole purpose is creating community, right? That's what I do. Mm-hmm. But watching people dovetail who they are with what they do. And I am in this very unique position to be able to witness when people are kind of stepping out of their traditional role and just saying, this doesn't make my heart sing, and I'm having this kind of spiritual awakening and I have to, intertwine this. And I would say, oh my gosh, we have to talk, that, oh my gosh, that is my passion. I'm like, come on, whatever you need, just let's talk it through. Let's make it happen. Let's create a business out of this. And that's my whole thing, purpose beyond profit. Like you can help a lot of people, but you have to make money.
Absolutely.
Right. You have to, we all have to survive. Right. I don't think we all need big things in life. And I don't really feel an attachment to a lot of material things, but I feel that my purpose is to repair the world. And we are a freaking mess right now. So I can do it one business at a time. I always feel like I'm not the healer, but I'm like my clients have called me a business healer. They're like, you always say you're not a healer, but you're a business healer. You allow us to bring our gifts forward, to help you. If you can't figure it out, I love that strategy part. I'm the strategist. I'm the one who says, let's figure out how we all put this together so you can just shine and bring your gifts to the world. That's what makes me so happy.
I love that. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm very similar. I mean, we all need to make money. But let's make money in a way that's impactful. That's also giving us a purpose, because, when you do something that is beyond just chasing money, magic happens. I've seen, and I told you last time when we talked, when I switched my entire focus from money to impact, I've seen things that could only be, called miracles, connected to incredible people, so many doors, so many. I can do an entire talk, and I will probably do an entire episode just on all the magic I've seen happen in my life as a result of that. But most importantly, it gives you and it gives me a purpose. And once you have a purpose, you become a different person,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a lot about the connections you made. I mean, before we turned on the mic, I told you that I do, it started out as a summit, and now it's a podcast, but it started as a summit called Six Figure Souls. And it was really during 2020 when everything was shut down. And I really wanted to highlight people that stayed so true and authentic to who they were and were so in line with the universe, but still broke that six-figure ceiling, right? Which I feel is like minimum wage for an entrepreneur. So, right. And just starting telling those stories and those journeys, and it's not always easy, right? And everyone has those highs and those lows, and we climb the wrong mountain. I tend to attract scientists, doctors, very logical people that are all of a sudden going through awakening, and they're like, wait a minute, right? So they walk the wrong path, not the wrong path, the path that got them to the question where they are. And then, how do they come around and pull their lives together, right? Those two paths become one, because that's what happened to me, right? But it was in that summit, in those podcasts, and the people I met. And like you, people introduce you to the next one, right? They're like, oh my gosh, you have to interview this. And those are the relationships I still have today. Those are the relationships that really propelled who I was as a person, making those connections. And it just lit me up. I loved those conversations.
I agree with you. I'm on the same page, because it's the connections that really fuel everything. I heard, I saw a quote, I don't know, just recently saying that, one of the beliefs that we all taught, that business is a numbers game. At first, I used to believe that, but now I see it as a completely the opposite. For me, it's not a numbers game. It's a relationship game. You have to build a connection. As I told you, people love doing business with people they can connect and relate. Even if your offer is amazing, if a person cannot have this connection and this trust and this relatable thing, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's more important now than ever. Like, we grew up in a very transactional society, and there's this evolution of this new entrepreneur happening. It's more conscious, it's more soul driven, that they're starting to pull away and understand that you're building relationships and long time, and you don't know, and you shouldn't really judge what you can get from that person as much as what you can give to that person that will reflect back. It's this whole different way of doing business now. I think I've always been that person, but now it's kind of coming forward.
I agree. A lot of people are right now, so to speak, awakening and going after following the heart as opposed to just money, because a lot of us, we get to a point that once we get all of our needs taken care of, say, okay, what's next? Is it all there is to it? We need meaning, fulfillment, purpose, and that's what we get through all of that. That's the next level. That's the ultimate pursuit that we all should strive for, because once you have that, and one thing that I noticed in my life is, once I focused on impact, then the money is taking care of itself. I don't even have to worry about the money.
Yeah. I think there's so many people that are afraid, or they hide behind, their heart. Like, I always say, like, I'm very intuitive, but like, I don't tell a lot of people that. Right. And I'm like, I really need to just step into that, because that's what pulls people that understand my gifts forward. Right. And, not everyone's really comfortable talking about that side of them, that soul-centered piece, that consciousness.
Exactly, because still to this day, that's something that we keep first for ourselves, because it's seen almost as, if you mention that, it's seen as a weakness, almost as you're like a cuckoo, whatever, you something is wrong with you, as opposed to, hey, we need to embrace that. That's what we are at the soul level, at the core. But the good news is that more and more people are coming forward and sharing that, and people feeling, empowered to share that. And that's a beautiful thing to witness.
Yeah. Well, I think I tend to work with people that are coming from a corporate side to them. So most of the people that come into the Natural Life Business Partnership are corporate beings that have shifted, right? And I think they're saying 1 out of every 4 people right now is turning to entrepreneur and not going back to the corporate life after 2020. Yes. That might be a US statistic, but really phenomenal. But they still want to be professionals. And I think that's what's missing. When people feel that they're bringing their intuitive side forward or their gifts, that they're not actually a professional, right? A professional has a certain way to look and a certain way to act and a certain way to show up. And I have an office and it's a really clean desk. And I think 2020 allowed us that shift. And now we're seeing with Zoom, cats are walking through screens and kids are screaming in the background. And it's so real, because that's what happens. We're not putting on this facade anymore. And that was a big part of creating my organization, is because I wanted to give credibility to those professionals that still had a spiritual thread. So by coming together, they're saying, hey, oh my gosh, I didn't know these other people existed. I'm like, they're all over. We just have to come together. And I just know my job is to create community. I don't know what comes out of it, right? But to have that professional accreditation of, I'm a professional too, and I'm a doctor, and I'm a lawyer, and I'm an engineer, or a financial planner, all of these professions that we don't think of being spiritual, right? Totally. So now we can all come together.
Being a spiritual doesn't have a color or anything, because we're all at the end, whether you're white, black, blue, green, whatever, we all spiritual beings before being a physical body, because we are on this planet as an eternal spiritual being having a temporary physical experience. That's what, the moment we understand that, everything changes.
Yes. And that's why our organization, it's all professions, and we say it's all genders, it's global. There is no judgment on what you do. Right. We're about who you are, and that's our common thread.
Spirituality, being spiritual doesn't have a race, gender, color, or anything. It's universal,
Absolutely.
Awesome. So I love these kind of, organic conversation. None of this was scripted and all. That's what I love. But let me ask you a couple of more questions about you as a course. So tell us, what makes you sad and angry?
Not much, honestly.
That's wonderful.
No, I don't really go there or have judgment there. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like everything happens in divine timing, and that's not for me to choose. That's not to say if my kid's sad, I'm not sad, but I come from a different place. I don't go into those emotions that deeply. I don't get angry.
Wow.
I used to get very angry. But I think that comes from a place of judgment or not being enough, right? And I'm not that person anymore. So I always say I'm a recovering control addict. I don't have to control things. I just allow. And it passes.
What did you do to move from being angry to now no more being angry? How did you do that? How did you achieve that? Was it something progressive, gradual? Was it a day came, said, okay, enough of that, and you just made a...
It's definitely progressive, right? It's definitely stages. It didn't just snap my fingers one night and decide, but I definitely do think it's also a decision that we make, right? And it really happened. I went through a very nasty divorce, and learning not to engage, and how powerful that was to just not engage, come to the other side of it and not engage. And it really just made the other side more angry, right? So, but that I wasn't attached to the anger. So that was really my first steps of starting to learn. That was about 4 years ago, and just kind of realizing that I needed to separate from a lot of that. The second part was in 2018. I went through something called Psych-K, I have mastered, as a facilitator at that point. And I do put that into my business training. It's more of an energy psychology to kind of dive into those subconscious beliefs. And in my training, I was the guinea pig for our master instructor to do what's called a core balance, which kind of cleared me out after years of therapy, going through an abusive marriage. And in like 45 minutes, it was just lifted. Wow. And then it was like moving from that point, and just going, okay, how do I identify? And knowing, that I'm safe and I'm enough, and not that things don't creep up, because they do. And, at every single level of your life, that crap creeps up again, right? Sure. But I'm a little better at identifying it and just going, I can't be attached to that,
Amazing.
Yeah. So I'm still growing. I'm still awakening. I still meet people and I'm like, holy crap, how are you so awesome? And then you feel not enough. And then you're like, wait, you're awesome too. You have to just be in your power and what you do.
That's amazing. I love that. Now, what scares you?
What scares me? The path this world is going on scares the crap out of me.
Yes, indeed.
That scares me. But again, all I can do is my part, right? My part is, repairing the world one business at a time. What else scares me? I don't know, what initially just came to me was, I try to build community and bring all these people together, but what if people don't hear it? And there's also a piece of me that going, yeah, but it's not your job to make them hear it. It's your job to put it out there. But I always I want it now. I want it now. So
one thing I noticed is that we, the right person at the right time. We all we are on our own personal journey. Some of us can be 1 or 2 steps ahead, some 1 or 2 steps behind. We'll all get there eventually, some sooner than others. So one thing I learned is not to try to force or try to whatever someone else to catch up, whatever. You just put the information out there. If they're ready, and when they're ready, they will reach out to you.
Yeah, non-attachment.
Exactly. Yeah. So because the moment that you try to so-called push someone and force them, that's the moment you're going to lose them and you're going to alienate them, and it's going to be game over, especially in business. Relationship is everything. That's when they're going to ghost you and block you. So that's why I don't even chase people. It's like, here's information. When you're ready, let me know. And when they're ready, believe it or not, I've had people reach out to me 2 years after the first initial contact. I completely forgot about them. Hey, I'm ready to join. Okay. Is my payment. Okay. Wow. Wasn't expecting that. Wonderful. Welcome.
Yeah, that's a hard place to get to, because I struggle with that sometimes. Right. And I'm at this place now where I even tell my own coaches, I'm working way too hard. Right. Because I want people in it because they have such an amazing experience, but getting it in front of them and for them to believe that they're ready to be a part of it.
Totally.
Right. But now I'm trying to go through those motions of just step back and you just keep showing up.
You focus on yourself. You do what you best, what makes you smile, what makes me happy. Focus on what you can control. That's one of the reasons I refuse to watch the news. I haven't watched the news in years. And
I don't watch the news.
It's only going to make you upset for something you have no control over. I heard someone once say that if something is important, you will know about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
I agree.
So that's why. Awesome. So what would you say, Camille, is your personal superpower?
The first thing that comes to me is I just get it. So for the people that I serve, right, is I so easily dovetail who you are with what you do. So many people can't see that. And I'm like, okay, let's just put it together. I bring you to your ultimate dream. I always say, where do you want to be in 5 years? and take out all the crap and be like, okay, let's just do this now. Like, why wait 5 years? Right? Let's take the steps to do this now. And I don't care if it's most of my people that I coach, I'm like, I don't think there's a need to work more than 5 hours a day, because after that, you're really not productive. But those 5 hours have to be very productive. So, and just kind of putting together that. And I get tremendous testimonials of like, oh my gosh, I found my life. Right. And I'm making money and I'm in joy. And yeah, so my superpower is dovetailing that.
Beautiful. Love that. Especially when you're making an impact. That's the most beautiful reward, is making an impact and seeing the gratitude in someone's eyes. That's the ultimate payout, if you want to call it, because it gives you goosebumps, and it's beautiful. Awesome.
Yeah.
So you like traveling, right?
I do.
Now let me take you on a trip down memory lane, a different type of traveling.
Okay.
Remember when we're kids growing up, parents, family, teachers all ask us, so Camille, what do you want to become when you grow up? What was your answer back then?
A mom.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
And I did.
Lovely. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I always knew I would be a leader. I just didn't know of what. Right. But being a mom I remember everyone going to college. I went to college too, but everyone asking like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And I was like, I really just want to be a mom, but I'll go to college just to kind of pass the time, but it was there that, I'm a forever learner. I can't stop learning, and I go off in tangents, and, I just feel like I'm supposed to lead and create community. I was always that person, but I don't have attachment to the outcome.
And being a mom is the ultimate form of leadership, because seeing the influence you have on two young little thing, one, whatever, how many you see that
three.
Okay, 3. You see that growing up. That's the most beautiful thing, it is.
And that's challenging. And I think it also teaches you great leadership. Right. Because I didn't have it all together. And sometimes I look back and like, well, I could have done that better, but I don't hold myself accountable. And not in a bad way. Right. But it's like, I did the best I could in that moment. Like, I'm smarter now, but my kids are in their 20s. I didn't have that particular skill set, or I was in such a different place at that moment. So it's awesome. Really just about forgiveness, move on. They're all alive and they're all doing well. So
wonderful. And that's what is the most important, seeing them doing well. It's, makes you feel good. Now, let's stay back to when you were a kid. When you were a kid growing up in school, what was your favorite subject?
I don't know. I just loved school. Is that crazy? Like, I loved science. I loved math, although I hate math now. I loved writing and English. Books. I was an avid reader, still am today.
Same here.
So, and I was very creative. So I always took honors art and all of that. So I was very well-rounded, but I enjoyed all of it. I'm trying to think, is there anything I didn't like?
Well, just what my mind was my next question. So go ahead.
I can't think of a subject that I really didn't like either. I stopped taking math as soon as I can, and I still don't math.
Same here. Yeah.
I could do it. I just didn't enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the difference.
All right. Now let's move forward. From the time you left school to now, how would you describe your path? Would you say as soon as you got into one lane, it was pretty much straight, smooth sailing forward? Was it like turns and twists, ups and down, like a roller coaster?
So it's kind of a crazy path, but I feel like unless I had that path, I couldn't be who I am today.
Absolutely.
Right. So like, if you looked back at my path, and I always tell my kids, like, it doesn't matter. Like it's like, life figures you out, right? So my first degree was in counseling psychology. My second degree was an MBA in business. So then I went to the business side. I was going to go to medical school in between. And my father said, who was a doctor, said, don't go to medical school, go get your MBA and change it from the outside. And I think that was probably the best advice I ever had, because I'm making a change in a different way now, right? I'm not stuck in the system.
Mm.
So that was terrific advice. And then my background is all strategic planning and nonprofit. So it was always helping others. I was not good at counseling at all, but now we've come around, and I'm a coach, right? Because so I still do counsel, right? And I work for the Small Business Development Association doing business counseling for them. And so, although it's not what I went to school to think to do, right? It's kind of all of that. And my doctorate work was all in natural health science. So because I went back to the science and figured out, like, okay, what's making people tick? Because alternative medicine is really what I love to hear about. So that's why I always say I engineer alternative businesses. Like if it's something that's not mainstream,
I love that.
I'm your girl. Yeah.
Wow. Love that. I'm gonna take a note of that. That's beautiful.
Yes.
Now, I'm sure you heard the saying, change your story, change your life. And by story, I mean what we keep on telling ourselves between the two ears all day long. So when you, Camille, had to change your story, to change your life, how did you do it? Did you do it through the help of friends, family, mentors, books? So tell us how you did that.
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, I always went to a different drum beat, and I was always really fine with that. Like I loved that differentiator. My story had to change more as I went through my divorce, when I learned not to engage and learned not to be the victim and learned all of that, and not be like, okay, who am I now? I don't even talk about my story because I'm not that person anymore. So I never go back there. I always just say, I don't really feel a need to go back there. Right. But every piece of that story and my childhood and my upbringing and every piece of who I am is a part of who I am. So there are no regrets in my life whatsoever. People always say, do you have a regret? No, never, because that molded me. So I forget what the question was, but
the question was, how did you change your story? But you've answered it. So that's beautiful. I love that.
I don't live a victim story. I just keep making a new one. Right. Today I woke up and I was like, I think I need to create a new story or kind of go in this new direction. So
I love what you mentioned, that you don't become the victim, because, it's not what happens, but what we make of it, especially the power of question, asking the right questions. For example, let's say something bad happens. In your case, for example, a bad divorce. Instead of asking, why me? What did I do to deserve this? And then instead, what I learned through my own, spiritual awakening with the past year and a half is, when something happens, take a step back, breathe, and ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? What is the lesson for me to learn from this? That's when I look at things from this angle, elevate things to a new whole level, and I see the deeper meaning of everything. Sure, it might hurt like a bee at the moment, but if you take a step back, then okay, there is a deeper meaning to that. What is this trying to teach you?
Yeah, there was a big lesson that I learned, because this just came up in a conversation on Sunday, that this is after I divorced, right? And I had some bad dating experiences. And I learned that I was literally attracting who I was. I was attracting my own bad qualities that I wasn't dealing with, right? Because I was attracting like almost the same thing back. And my friends were like, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know why it's happening. So that took, someone else pointing it out. But as soon as it was pointed out, I was like, oh my gosh, I totally attracted. So every time something happens, no matter what it is, I always say, what is the lesson here? Why did I attract it? How can I change that story? Because clearly I made it happen, whatever it is. So how can I change that story?
Love that.
So that was kind of a new way of kind of looking at things.
I love what you said about we attract what everything in our lives is so true, because at the end of the day, because if you look at things at the deepest level, what we are spiritual beings, and spiritual being like antennas in the universe, just like antennas, they attract what the signal they send out. So that's exactly it. Yeah. Amazing. Now, I want to ask you a question now. When we all go through unhappy, bad things that at the time hurt crazy, but then when we look at it, we learn beautiful lessons from that. So would you say that Do you see all the challenges that you had to go through your life, now looking back at them as beautiful gifts to teach you invaluable lessons?
Yeah, of course you wish some of them didn't happen, but
Oh, sure.
like I said, I wouldn't be me without every single one of those faults.
Totally.
They all contribute to my story.
Building blocks. I see like life.
They're building blocks, and that's how I help others, right? So you always attract where you were about 2 years ago, right? So I have a story to share, and I attract, women that went through nasty divorces, trying to start their own spiritual businesses, that have all this baggage and everything else, because that's my story, right? And I attract it without telling them. But as soon as they come in, I was like, I get it. Let me share my story. So that's kind of it. There's a reason why that happens, but I need all of that to help more people.
Totally. And I see life, if you want to summarize in a very simplified way, I see it as a video game. You need to pass a level to get to the next level, next level, next level, next
you
level.
Level up. Yeah.
If you can't pass this, you're not going to be here. You know what I mean? So everything that happens is meant to happen for you, for the ultimate, for your ultimate growth at the soul level. Just like I told you earlier, we are like on our own personal journey. Some of them might be 2 or 3 steps ahead or back, and we're all going to get there, but some faster than others. So
yes.
That's beautiful. Now let's move forward.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your business. Tell us about what you're doing. What's going on in your life? What you're doing business wise?
So
what kind of impact you're having?
So I have 2 businesses. The primary one being the Natural Life Business Partnership, which is a global collaboration of soul-centered entrepreneurs that are just coming together to repair the world. We live in a higher vibration. We do business a little differently, and we want to collaborate, right? We want to have that purpose beyond profit. And my job there is just to create the community. So that community, we've been around for 6 years, way before we went online in 2018. So when 2020 happened to all of us, we already existed. We already had an online platform. Like nothing changed for us. We just started to grow and attract more and more people. So we were kind of in that sweet spot of more the high-end entrepreneur, because I like working up in that end. But recently, in the past 30 days, in the beginning of September, we kind of released lower levels because now we want to be part of that journey and more of an accreditation for people that need that professional accreditation. So just say, I'm part of this partnership. I'm a partner too, and just coming in and working together. And we have many what I call micro communities. So all the authors are together, product marketers are together. We're starting one called Soul Curiosity, just to talk about that. So we have all these different micro communities. So that's a big piece of my why, because I want to repair the world, and I feel like everyone else has these awesome gifts. How can I pull them all together and make them feel safe? Because they're all introverts just like me. Right. So I have to appeal to all those introverts and say, no, you got to keep going. You got to keep going. So that's one. And the second piece of that is my personal coaching, which is called 6-Figure Souls. We have a podcast called 6-Figure Soul, so you can hear all of those stories, and 6-Figure Soul Strategy. Thank you. The 6-Figure Soul Strategy is me working with you just to kind of develop this beautiful framework around who you are, what you want in your life, and then how do you make money from it? How do you repair the world with your gifts? And it's my job to get you there, because I love building businesses. I can't stand running them. So it puts me in my sweet spot. So when I decided what I wanted to do, I just, make 2 columns. This is everything I want. This is everything I don't want. And what does that look like for me? So for me, it was helping other people build businesses that helped repair the world.
Love that. Wow, amazing. Now, tell us about the most remarkable example of transformation you've seen from one of your clients you've helped so far.
Oh my God, I've seen so many.
I love that when people say that.
I've seen so many, and they're all so different. But I think the most beautiful part is when they step into really who they are. Like they came, we just did a business intensive, and, you know, I had a client that you know, one of the people that showed up, I think had a false perception of who they were helping, what they were doing, with all great intention, you know, and it just needed some of those tweaks. And so I can do through Psych-K, I do inner healing too. So I always say I do the inner work before we do the outer work, and then I teach you the higher work to stay there. Right. So it was part of that inner work where it's really hard and everyone breaks down and starts to cry, but then you build it up. Right. So by the end of the first day, I was like, you're awesome and you have gifts. You were just packaging it wrong. So let's put it in a way that's so, you know, perfect for who you are, you know, and not following anyone else. Everything is individualized. Like, we don't sell 10K months and 12 steps to this, because it doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
The people I work with have businesses that no one's ever heard of before. The alternative business. So yeah, so the transformation is usually like, wow, I can do this, or I had no idea. Right. And, you know, and then you're watching, like I get texts all day long, like, oh my God, I just signed my first big client, or
how does it make you
awesome.
feel when you get those texts?
Oh my God, amazing. But it happens a lot too. Like, and sometimes I have to just kind of take a look back, like, wow, I am making a difference, because I have to be reminded as well. You know, and that's what my coach is for. So just say, oh my gosh, you're doing all of this stuff. But yeah, just say, you know, you can absolutely have it all. Just tell me what your dream is and I'll get you there.
So tell us about the structure of a program. How does it work? Is it one-on-one? Is it small groups? Is it videos?
So yeah, so the community works at a very high level. So you can join the community and you're getting me, and you're getting that mastermind kind of feel, because we always talk about what works, what doesn't, why, how can we help you? So that's one way, just having the community membership. To do what I call that 6-figure soul strategy, you're working one-on-one with me. And I do it in 12-week blocks. So if you don't even have an idea, we start there. If you have an idea and need tweaks, we start there. Like, so every single piece of it is individualized to exactly what that person needs. I just meet them where they are. You know, sometimes people need a lot of inner work, right? Some people have no structure. It doesn't really matter. So I was doing this business intensive, I think I've done since 2018, twice a year, right? And it started with like, I want to say like 22 people, 20 people, I don't know. And it slowly went down to like 15, then 9, like 7. And the last one that showed up, and I'm sure COVID had a lot to do with it, was 3 people. And it was probably the most powerful thing I've ever done. And I was like, wait, I need to do this differently. I'm never going to do those big ones again, because I love the really deep inner work. And I only work with about 5 people one-on-one in a year. Like, I do not work with a lot of people because I want it to be that powerful. I want to know everything about your business. Like, I don't want to have 10 clients and forget. Like, you are my number one priority. So, so that's really what I stick to now, like going forward. And that was kind of a decision that I've made only in the past few months, that I love this. And doing that business intensive just brought me to a whole new level. And now I'm like, wow, I should just do a year-long mastermind, have 3 or 4 people, maybe a max of 6. I think 5 would be my perfect, 6 maybe, that we're all doing that intensive together. And then I do one-on-one work, because the inner work really needs to be done privately. We do a lot of exercises that brings a lot out, but I need to heal. I feel that I have a duty to heal that trauma in you. So I have to go back and fix that. And that's one-on-one.
So when you
it's kind of a combination.
So when you deal with 5 people, do you distribute it equally, like 1 day per person for the week? And that's how you organize your things?
So in the business intensive, we actually do 2 straight days, 2 8-hour days straight in person.
Wow.
And then I'm meeting with all of them privately to work on some of that inner work that came up, you know, some of that trauma and stuff that came up that shows up, so they can be whole. But if I'm working with you one-on-one, we're doing it all along the way. We still kind of do the same path. We still need a lot of that inner work. I think especially for spiritual entrepreneurs, because that's really who I work with, there's a lot of inner stuff that comes bubbling up. It does really for any entrepreneur, but it's easier for me to clear without resistance if you have a spiritual track.
Sure.
If you just come with that open feeling.
Okay. You know, in business, one of the key elements is having an irresistible offer. What would you say is your irresistible offer?
I don't know, just giving you the business and the life you always wanted, because it's so dovetailed. Like, how can you not want that?
Yeah, especially because for you, from what I understand, it's more like very individual. It's not like a cookie cutter for everyone.
It's 100% individual. Yeah, every single session is different for every single person, and you have access to me. If you're doing one of my one-on-one intensives, you have access to me all the time. That's why I only take about 5 people a year.
One of the most important things I learned, and I've seen that unfold in front of me, especially recently, is that we all have amazing gifts and talents that we take for granted, that for us, they don't mean anything, but we need an unbiased, fresh set of eyes that says, hey, this is what you need to focus on. This is what your superpower, so to speak, you know?
Yeah.
Have you noticed that as well? And basic what I'm understanding is that you're helping your clients to realize what is their inner, the innate superpower that they take for granted, that they see, because for them it's a natural thing. They don't see it as something special. But for someone exterior to say, oh my God, that's what you need. And I've had this conversation so many times with so many people on my podcast after listening to this story for 5 minutes. Hey, are you targeting this? No, why not? You're sitting on a gold mine.
Yeah. And once again, that was me. Mm-hmm. You know, people were like, oh my gosh, like you changed my life, or, oh my gosh, you have such power to pull this together. I'm intuitive. I just know stuff. Right. So, but I didn't know that was a superpower. And because of my business acumen and my background and, you know, my doctorate work, I understand the science. So you can literally come to me with anything, right? I understand the business, I understand the science, and I have the coaching degree. And that's when you said, like, your path, there is no one who would have put that path together, you know, but that's why I say there's only one of me, right? That's my differentiator. I have all it takes to bring other people's gifts to the world, right? My gift is to bring other people's gifts to the world, and exactly in alignment with who they are and what they want to do. And just uncovering that is kind of fun for me. And it's amazing to watch them walk that line and be incredibly successful, you know?
Wow. How are you getting your clients? Do you have a specific marketing, or you just word of mouth? What's your game plan?
So every single one-on-one client I've ever had has just called me up or found me somewhere. I've never done a single thing of marketing. So I think I'm going to change that this year, but I've never done anything. And it was really in 2020. I actually didn't do one-on-ones because I was like, I just want to work on the community. But then so many people called after I got the Psych-K, became a Psych-K facilitator. They were finding me from all over the world. Most of my clients were outside of the world. That's how we ended up being a global community. So it happened enough times where I went, maybe I should consider this. And then as I started working with clients and seeing that I had this real gift of putting it all together exactly the way they needed it done, I started to just absolutely love that deep work, from the pricing, the packages, but there's so much inner work around all of that, and it's really around self-worth, it pulls in my psychology, it pulls in my business, it pulls in my doctorate work. Like, it's just perfect. So,
so when you mentioned that they found you, how are they finding you? Is it through your podcast, the content you put out there, people that refer you?
So up until last year, I didn't put out any content. I wasn't on social media. I didn't do anything. But now that I have a branding team, I'm changing all of that. So we just started releasing our Six-Figure Soul weekly podcast. Like literally, no, I have 30 interviews already done. So that's all coming out now. I do business tips in our global group. That also goes to YouTube. Our YouTube channel is NLBP.TV, which I've had for 6 years and never put anything on it. So now there's a strategy of just kind of being me and putting it out there and not being attached to what happens, and doing podcasts like yours and just kind of allowing it to be and kind of seeing what happens. So there's no real strategy. I hate to say that, but clients and people just find me. And I don't take a heck of a lot. So it's not really hard. It's not like I have to fill a day, because my primary job is still that community and people get me there.
And you said you're looking to change that. How are you going to change that? What do you have in mind to change that?
Yeah. So now it's really just about putting myself out there more and not being attached to like filling stuff, we have meet and greets and networking things. And I'm just going to show up. I'm just going to be, and now having more of a schedule if my assistant does all of the postings and and having that presence that people can go look for me if they want to, and taking my coaching side a little bit more seriously, and starting to put together things that make my heart sing, like a mastermind, if I can take 3 people through the journey of a lifetime and they come out with, 6-figure businesses from nothing, that's pretty cool, right? I only need to do 3 of those a year. Like I don't need 30, it's not the same experience. I'd rather do small because I like the intimate work and I'm working with introverts. So it's kind of perfect.
Yeah. What would you say is currently your number one challenge in your business?
The number one challenge, just getting people to know who we are. We've done everything is word of mouth. Every single person that comes to us is word of mouth. So
you said you work mainly with high achievers, but also people that are internal peoples. Okay, is that the right avatar?
Our most common, the common thread in I have 2 avatars. So there's the community, and then there's my personal work, right? Mm-hmm. So the community is really any entrepreneur that's kind of been walking 2 paths. They have a spiritual awakening or this little inner chime going off, like something's not making my heart sing. What am I doing? And I don't care what you're doing, right? And it's how can I pivot a little bit so I'm happier every single day, right? Or I'm helping more people the way that it's aligned with me. I don't care what you do, right? So those are the people that tend to come together in our community, right? All professions, like all over the place, we have professions. It's more like a chamber of commerce, but all very spiritual entrepreneurs. They come together and they do their own thing, and that becomes a lot bigger. So that avatar is really mostly an older person, came out of a corporate world, is reinventing themselves right now. Doesn't fit into the B&I kind of structure, doesn't like the transactional piece of business. When they talk about themselves, are not exactly welcomed, or they hide that intuitive piece of them, like they're still kind of hiding. That's our avatar for the community. For me personally, I can work with anyone that's bringing those worlds together, but I tend to attract, like women 50 years old have been through a traumatic time in their life or have some trauma usually around a bad divorce, and they're single now, and they have kids at home and they're trying to balance their entire life. That's usually who I attract in my personal world, because that's who I am, right? I was
absolutely
mom, I had the kids, I had a brutal divorce, and I built a company while I was doing all of that.
Yes, makes sense. Wow, awesome. Now, what would you say is a cause that you're most passionate about? Because the the point of, I mean, the focus of this podcast is building impactful businesses. What would you say is a cause that's dear to your heart?
Repairing the world, right? And getting everyone's gifts out there. That is the most important thing. And that's why I help people build these businesses, because the world needs them. So, and the second thing, if I can say, is what I call my Creative Kids Project. It's really supporting creatives and kids that are going to be our future entrepreneurs, you know, and just saying it's okay. You don't have to follow the path that everyone took. You know, it's okay to be a creative, you know. So I think so many times kids are really creative, or they have this beautiful mind, and their, you know, parents are like, no, you have to go to college and lose it all. I just think college is a good idea. All my kids are in college, but, you know, they're all creatives too. So just allowing them to be and blossom and kind of figure it out is important.
Sure. Now let's talk a little bit about advices. So you already mentioned earlier the best piece of advice you received was from your father. Now, what was the worst piece of advice you received so far?
That's probably also from my father.
Okay.
Which is like, don't get educated, just go get married. That was probably the worst advice, but I didn't follow that advice, by the way. Worst advice. I don't know. There's, you know, I don't know if it's exactly advice, but there are a lot of people in my path, and they're usually friends and family, that are like, what is your business? Are you kidding me? Like, I love that you actually make money doing that.
Is that legal?
Yeah.
I get that. What are you doing? Are you selling drugs? You know?
Yeah. So not that that's advice, but I always tell everyone, like, your friends and family are not your business partners. Like,
no.
Their opinion of you is none of your business. And actually, my father used to say that too. Anyone's opinion is none of your business.
Has anyone ever told you, why don't you get a real job?
Yeah.
I get it all the time.
Yeah. 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 My family still goes, what do you do exactly? I was like, yeah. It's just crazy. But I don't know if that's advice, but it's, you know, I feel that a lot of people that don't understand what you do, regardless of what you do, or aren't in alignment with what you do, are not your friends. And so many times so all of us as spiritual beings, we grow out of people, right? We grow out of situations, we grow, and you're supposed to move circles. Facebook kept us all together, but we're not supposed to have all these people in our lives. We're just really not. You're supposed to grow out of people. So a lot of times, if you start to do really well in your business, there's that whole guilt and shame around it, because you're leaving these people that don't have it, right? And there's that victim of, you have it and I don't have it, and why do you have it? And that's, you know, it's not advice, but you should not be taking advice from the people that are not on your same journey, if that makes sense.
When I first started my first online business back in 2007, 2010, I left Canada. I went to Asia after reading the 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And I was living, I was having an incredible time, living an incredible life in Thailand, all that. And at first I was young and naive. I was posting all of that on Facebook, saying, wow, that's amazing, guys. You can go there. I'm staying at a beautiful, like a 5-star hotel for like $500 a month. For $20, I can be on the beaches. For $30, I can be in the Philippines. I was maybe naive because I wanted to share incredible things.
Right.
But then I started noticing that people are, starting to avoid me and all that. And when I start talking back home with cousins and all that, people I grew up with, that we did everything together, the first question they would ask me is, so when are you coming home and settle? I said, what the hell are you talking about? And then from after that, I learned that not to post that anymore, because people are not ready. They're not, it's outside of their, and that's
they
why
live
when
in
I
their
come
box.
back, when I come back here, I have a very hard time connecting with people, because especially people that have lived all their life in one city or the same job. You talk with them after 10 years. So what's new? Oh, same old, same thing, same job, same place we go for drinks on the weekend. And I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You cannot connect with them. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying that as an arrogance, but trying to open their mind, trying to see what's actually possible and available in the world.
Yeah.
I even offered some of my cousin, okay, come down here. I even pay for your flight so you can see it. Take time off from whatever you're doing. Oh, I can't. I have this. They come up with all kinds of excuses. And these people, it's like we talked earlier, people are not ready. When they're ready,
it's mindset.
Yeah.
Right. It's mindset. And I do think this evolution of this new entrepreneur that we're starting to see has this kind of exploratory mindset, right? I do, right? So I know I'm going to start to attract it. But right now, I want to start exploring, start getting out. I'd like to take 3 months here and 3 months there. And I've built a business that can do that on purpose, because I always expected to explore. I want to live in Italy for a few months out of the year. So now I'm starting to be in the groups called digital nomads, but now they're bigger. And I'm like, they started to be like millennials, but now I'm seeing, like, I would write in them, is anyone US based, has a home base, because that's not likely, right? Is over 50 years old with kids that are out there traveling and doing this nomad life. And I'm starting to see people go, yep, that's me, or that's me, or that's me. And I'm like, I think this is a new group kind of happening, right? So
it would be an amazing niche, amazing audience for you to go after,
Exactly. So I feel that, and they're doing these co-living situations, right? I think that's the next thing that we're going to see, these entrepreneurial houses and co-living, because I'm looking like, at this point in my age, like I want nice things, right? I'm not going to camp. I'm not going to but I do believe that there's like a whole bunch of me's out there, right? That kind of want to do the same thing, right? And I'm not going to buy that $1 million oceanfront house, but I might share it with 4 other 50-year-old entrepreneurs if I had my own ensuite, right? So something like there's this piece there. So that's also what I want to start to bring, to our community, another micro community of nomads.
There's a lot of, co-living spaces. The first time I heard about that was when I was in Thailand, 2010. There were people organizing that in Bali, not only just in Asia, but also in Barcelona and Spain and Colombia. And most of the places that, especially once you start getting into the digital nomad field, there's one keyword that's very popular. That's geographical arbitrage. So you make your money in a strong currency, you live in a place with a lower currency, so you elevate your quality of your life. Like, for example, I was living in Asia, in Thailand, even in Bali. You can have a private villa with a private swimming pool for like $500 a month. Here in Toronto, even a room in a house with 5 other people is going to cost you $1,400 a month. If you're looking for a house, you're looking at $3,000-$4,000 a month just for the house. So by changing your location, you can drastically elevate the quality of your life at a fraction of what you're paying now.
Yes.
So a lot of people are doing that, especially if you work online. And that's, we talked earlier, you mentioned that 1 in 4 people in the US are quitting their job, especially now, because they realize that, hey, you can do your work remotely. You don't need to go spend an hour, 2 hours. I was talking yesterday with a guy I know. He works for a recruitment agency. He said, even in Canada, he's seeing a trend that people are quitting their job because they refuse to go back to the office. Why would you waste 2-hour commuting each way for what? Just to be in the office? And when I asked him, so what is the reason why the companies want people back? So, well, because they fear that they will lose the culture. I said, who cares about the culture? What matters is the result. Can you do your job? Can you do it online on time? That's what matters. Culture doesn't make any sense. People don't care about culture.
I think this, I saw it in my own company. I think what also happened during this is the world's market opened up, right? So I used to always hire people that were close by so we could have meetings and we can do things, even though I had an online company, right? So all of a sudden what happened was in 2020, I could hire anyone all over the world, right? So I have a copywriter in Turkey, and I have, one of my digital guys in Poland, and my assistants from the Philippines, and I can hire people all over the world. And I kind of love it because we are a global company so there's always a staff member a week, like watching what's happening, right? Yeah. So it really just kind of opened up my eyes of what I can do. and give other people opportunity in American companies. And since we're global, I have people on the staff now that can understand different pieces. We haven't had the language barrier yet, but I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see how that plays out. But we went, and I see a big wave going this way now, is even with my accountant, we went from, actual employees and paying benefits and everything to people preferring to be subcontractors.
Totally.
Right. It's better for us.
Freedom.
It's better for them. There's no, right. And we could write stuff off. And, I don't care when people work anyway, right? Just get your job done. So
exactly.
I think actually changing the way we do business, which I think is beautiful, right? I love teaching that part too. How we do business is not how a corporation is set up, right? A lot of us aren't corporations. So I think there's this whole shift and change that's going on with global stuff, and the taxes are going to be interesting, to see how that all plays out. Healthcare is a big question that I'm watching. And that some of these digital nomad groups I'm learning so much. I'm learning so much.
Which one are you frequenting?
I'm in a number of them. So there's one called Single Nomads. There's older female nomads. There's just digital nomads. There's world traveler nomads. I'm in a bunch of groups because I'm learning so much from different ones.
Have you heard of the Tropical MBA? That's probably one of the biggest and earliest, highly recommended. And they have two areas. One was the free one, and the private one is called the Dynamite Circle. Only for high achievers, nomads from all ages, all kind of businesses. They have from bootstrappers all the way to 8-9 figure business owners. So highly recommended Dynamite Circle. They also have a podcast called Tropical MBA.
All right, I will look at that.
Yeah. It's amazing. Once you mentioned the world opening up to you and hiring people. The first time I hired someone overseas was actually a graphic designer to do a full page ad that I was running in a newspaper back in 2008. It was in England. And after that, I never looked back. I've been hiring people left and right all over the place. We have teams around the world, and it's amazing, just like you mentioned, because when you have a team working around the clock, like for example, when I was living in Hong Kong, it's reverse time. Days or evenings there and vice versa. So I wanted to have someone in North America to do things while I'm sleeping and vice versa. This way business doesn't sleep,
Yes.
So
yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's kind of nice. I like waking up and just like seeing everything's already in my inbox and I just have to answer, but they're finishing their day and there's a little bit of an overlay. I just like it better.
Absolutely. It's amazing. It really opens up new words, but especially for you, now that you've had a taste of it, so to speak, what's possible. The next step for you is to actually live it yourself, live in these locations, and even live in one of, you mentioned co-working, not co-living house. Like for example, that's something that we did back in the day in Thailand. I know quite a lot of people doing it in Bali and Vietnam and Colombia and Barcelona. That might be something that you might want to look into it. When you go to Italy, you can promote that in advance to your groups, whatever. Hey guys, I'm looking to Italy. I'm looking for 2 or 3 other like-minded people.
Yeah.
Let's split the cost and get the baller villa, whatever, for 3,000 euros a month, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, beautiful swimming pool on the hills and Tuscany or whatever. That's living the life, because the people you're surrounding with yourself are the people who are all entrepreneurs who understand you, and you're in an incredible setting. So
that's where I'd like to go there in the future, and maybe even own a couple co-living spots, so our brand is with them.
Yeah, that would be especially for you. An amazing market and audience is opening up for you. Like say, for example, females over 50 that are location dependent. If you want to take it even further, be even more niche. Women over 50 that have overcome a divorce and now trying to reinvent themselves and go after their dreams. That's that can be narrow, but it's a very laser target. And the people that you will reach will really relate with you. Oh my God, she's speaking my language. She knows exactly what I'm feeling with. And your message is not going to be just another marketing pitch. It's going to be a magnetic call. It's going to be, hey, I'm in your shoes. I'm doing what you're striving to do. Come join me. It's going to be a no-brainer. It's not going to be selling anymore. It's going to be just, like I said, a magnetic call.
Yeah. Well, that's where I want to get to. That just be me and watch everyone else just magnetize it. So
love that. Listen, we can talk for hours, and it's been almost
I think we could.
an hour. Yeah. But let's wrap this up and ask you some final questions.
Okay.
We were talking about advice. Now, imagine now that you have a time machine, you can go back in time, and now you're sitting face to face with an 18-year-old Camille. What would be the number one advice you would give to her, knowing all that you know now?
Just be you. Like, I think I always did anyway. Like, I definitely walked my own path and didn't take a lot to heart, but it's probably stuck in my subconscious. There's not so good stuff there. We try to clear that out. But yeah, just follow your dreams, be you, which I did. Like, and knowing that it all works out. You know, that's kind of the interesting thing. Just, you got this.
Yes, love that. Now, you have your own podcast already. Now, imagine that today you have the most special guest, which is yourself. You're interviewing yourself. So what would be the number one question you will ask yourself? Don't think too much. What is the first question that comes to your mind?
It would really be telling my journey or my story. And you laugh, but I actually did interview myself.
Really?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I put it up on my website. You can see it's under Conversations with Camille. I literally asked myself the same questions that I asked. And it was really funny because I didn't prep for it. I just jumped on. I was like, I'm the guest today. And I just started reading them. And sometimes I shocked myself, like, oh, I didn't see that one coming. You would have thought I would, right? And it was kind of funny. Yeah.
You do like a montage, like split the screen in two. One is the one asking the question. One is
no, it was just me. But I was reading the questions that I ask most people, right? Like I have like, I don't know, 10, 20 questions. I don't ask every guest every question depending on where it goes, but it's just more of a reminder. And then I just start asking myself questions and answering them. It was kind of funny.
You're a genius. Just give me an idea. I've been asking this question for people for almost a year now on a podcast. Now I might do that myself. Just do it as I'm asking myself question. That's awesome. Thank you for that.
You can just ask one question at a time and do that on your YouTube channel.
Yes.
Be like a vlog.
Or Facebook Live. Yeah, absolutely. Love that. Awesome. Now, one of my favorite questions to ask is, what is the smallest thing you've done that has had the biggest impact for you in both your business and your life? I'll give you an example. For me, it's been starting this podcast because this podcast has opened so many doors. I've been having incredible conversation and connection with amazing, enlightened leaders with a heart. What would you say for you as being the one, and by small, I don't mean something small. I mean the one thing you've done that has had the biggest impact, positive impact so far in your life and business?
I would say, well, starting my community was pretty big because that came just totally from my heart. I didn't even know why. I felt like it was more of a download. Like I'm supposed to do this. I don't know why. Like I'm just supposed to do this. So obviously that became my whole track, right? You know, getting, doing my Psych-K work. That was a big one. And getting a divorce.
Yeah, sure.
That made me happy.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of pivotal moments in everybody's life. But.
Oh, absolutely. All right. The final question I want to ask you is a question for me. I want you to be honest and give me tough love. Don't try to be nice, tough love. So how can I improve my podcast? What tips do you have for me to improve my podcast? Because you're a podcaster yourself, you're a professional. So I just want some feedback.
I actually love the way you're doing it. It seems like you do it like I do it. It's just a conversation. I don't prep. I don't meet the people ahead of time. That was a mistake I did make, right? That I used to like and the stories were never the same coming out the second time. Like I was learning as they were going, and I thought you did a beautiful job. I love the conversation. I just hope people listen to the end.
I will. Yeah, thank you.
Long podcasts are tough, but you know what? I listen to a few that are over an hour, and I listen to them religiously because they're good conversations.
Absolutely. I like those meaningful, deep conversations to get to know the person. You know, those are more meaningful. I like those.
Absolutely. Yeah. I like when people are trying to uncover a story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
The best way is to go through my website and you can learn the most. It's thenaturallife.org. There's a contact us page there, and that is probably the best way. You can also look me up on LinkedIn. Camille L. Miller is the best way. If you just Google that, you'll find me everywhere. That's probably the best way to find me.
Awesome. Beautiful. Listen, Camille, it's been an absolute honor talking to you. You're a true leader with a heart. Love your vision, your story, your mission. Keep shining your light. Keep spreading your beautiful message. Stay safe. Stay awesome. God bless, my friend. And we'll definitely keep in touch. Thank you.
You too. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.